hijacking and diverting the second round of palliatives given by the state government. Community Development Committee Chairman of Rumalogo, Gift Inwaru, who spoke on behalf of the aggrieved people, said they are aware of the directives by the governor that the distribution of palliatives at the ward level should be supervised by the community leadership, which was the system used in the first phase.
The governor's intention is that these things should reach out to the people, but to our greatest dismay in Roma Log community, the PDP faithfuls there hijacked the tubers of yam the governor gave out to the people and converted it to their personal property without recourse and regard to the leadership in the community, the traditional rulers, the CDC. Why the governor's intention has been defeated? I am calling on the relevant authorities, especially the chairman of the palliative committee in River State, Ambassador Desmond Akao, to come to our aid, to call these people to order, to direct that this palliative is given to the people, to the less privileged, to the vulnerable in the community. Let it be released and given to those who need them most, and not the PDP faithfuls. The PDP faithfuls are not the only ones affected by this lockdown.
Reacting to the allegation, former publicity secretary of the People's Democratic Party in the area, Chisa Awuri, described the allegation as untrue, saying that the distribution of palliatives was supervised by the traditional rulers and other community leaders.
That is not correct. The palliative that the governor brought was apolitical. I am the committee, the leader of the LA committee. Yenwa Litoba, the paramount ruler of Yenwa Litoba, is a member. The CDC chairman of Rumeki is a member. The clergyman is a member. CDC chairman too. If he is not a member of the committee, that the other was a member, that all members of the committee, does that justify that the politician has hijacked? Those palliatives was shared by community chiefs in various communities. The public with the countenance of such allegation.
This report says work has resumed at the Ngboshimini Orazi roads after months of abandonment. Correspondent Fredal Erichi, who visited the community, reports that workers were seen at the site. Some residents and shop owners who spoke expressed gladness over the resumption of work on the road and appealed for speedy completion of the roads, with one of the officials, Ugbechi Chiedu, assuring that the roads will be completed within 4 months.
I'm very, 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 very happy because if you can see, since months now, we've not been feeling happy because in our business does not go, nothing moves.
If they make the working, with the suffering I have been encountering since January I came in here, I will be full of joy.
To me, I'm very happy. Now that they are doing the road, I'm very, very happy. When we want to pass, we find very difficult to pass at times. I want them to be fast too. I'm pleading they should try and put more effort.
It's not to start, it's to finish up the work. It's not about to start.
The IPC to be paid. That will increase the pace of work. It's been in the ministry for over 6 months. The IPC done. We are out of here in 4 months.
You would recall that 2 months ago, we brought you a report on the abandonment of the roads 2 years after the flag-off of the Ngboshimini Internal Road by the state governor in February 2018. The remains of the victims of the fire incident that occurred in Aliko Estate in Choba, Obiakpo local government area, have been buried in the late hours of last night. Neighbors in the estate confirmed the development to our correspondent Priye Zogu that they were laid to rest in Elele axis of Ikore local government area. The neighbors who narrated the unfortunate incident said several calls were made to the State Fire Service without response, and the fire was caused by illicit kerosene.
Now from there, now they do drive on the nobody agree. From there now they cause even that and they can't give us our body, say we'll go bury them. And we'll go bury them. We'll go bury for a lily yesterday night. Inside lily, that inside lily now we'll go on my back side. I'll go bury the coffee. Yesterday come back that night to reach.
I need to see if they wait for fire service that yesterday. That was waiting for upset for Bond, because we call fire service of Chobaya, no response. We call for town, they no pick call. Call for Lagos don't come pick call. So that's what happened yesterday.
Three gun of crazy, just buy and die. In a day for yesterday, went by that. So with the way with the fire, they cash and the thing wake everybody. The shot says some people never wake that kind after 5 to 6. Some people never come out. And everybody now find way. All the water we jack, they go, they pour there. No way, fire they cash, they go. It does less than at that time the fire they worst.
3 persons, a woman and her 2 children, died after a fire outbreak in Aliko Estate, Choba community in Obiakpo local government area of Rivers State. Chief Magistrate Justice Iyabo has remanded two females, Evangelist Celine Wanko and an auxiliary nurse, Faith Ugochukwu, at the Port Harcourt Correctional Center over the murder of one Nmaku Iroegbu. Evangelist Celine and Faith are standing trial on a two-count charge of conspiracy and murder of administering diazepam and Novas injection on the deceased Nmaku that led to her death at God's Dwelling Clinic and Maternity, Sun Life Avenue, Egbelu, Ogbogoro, Obiakpolo, Kugumanera, River State. Evangelist Celine, who narrated what transpired to the court, said she operates a ministry church where the pregnant deceased came for prayers but was transferred to the clinic after showing signs of delivery but later died after experiencing birth complications. The auxiliary nurse, Faith, on her part, told the court that drugs were administered on the late Nmaku in the clinic because of her rising temperature, which was read at 260 over 160 and was immediately referred to the military hospital where she passed on. But the investigative police officer, IPO, in his oral evidence claimed that the test carried out on the deceased at the military hospital shows that the injection administered to late Nmaku by the artillery nurse affected her brain, which led to her death. A ruling on the matter, Chief Magistrate Justice Iyabo said the court lacked jurisdiction to hear the matter and ordered that the suspect be remanded in a correctional center, but added that in view of the COVID-19 pandemic, the suspects be remanded at the cell of the state CID. The matter was adjourned to the 26th of May 2020 for mention. You are listening to the World News at 6 and Today95.1 FM, Voice of the People. After this break, more news, foreign and sports stories. Stay tuned.
Every day, every hour, when the big stories break, depend on our 24-hour news team to bring you the latest. Today, 95.1 FM.
Talk radio. I listen to a lot of talk radio.
95.1 FM. 95.1 FM. Voice of the People.
And we're back.
Thank you for staying tuned to the World News at 6 and Today 95.1 FM, Voice of the People. Welcome back. Now allow me bring you the rest of the bulletin. The Port Harcourt Electricity Distribution Company, PHED, has announced that the power outage being experienced in its area of coverage is due to system collapse from the national grid that occurred at early hours of Wednesday, 29th April 2020. PHED, in a statement by its manager, Corporate Communications, John Onyi, said frantic efforts is being made by the engineers of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, to ensure its restoration. Only therefore urged customers to exercise patience while waiting for the power restoration, irrespective of the restriction of movement. The Port Harcourt Electricity Distribution Company covers the Akwa Ibom, Bayelsa, Cross River, and River States. The Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, has placed some members of staff on mandatory leave with full benefits pending the conclusion and outcome of the ongoing forensic audit. This is contained in a statement by NDDC's Director of Corporate Affairs, Charles Odili, obtained by our news desk. Odili stated that the action is based on the advice of the lead consultant on the forensic audit exercise, which has been accepted by the Interim Management Committee, IMC. The staff sent on mandatory leave fall into three categories, and they are those indicted by security agencies like the police, ICPC, and the Economic Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, for acts of impropriety, and those whose acts are the subject of investigations by the forensic auditors. Also affected are those who held key and sensitive positions in the Commission during the period covered by the forensic audit and whose continued presence in the Commission will interfere, impair, undermine, or compromise the objective of the forensic auditing of the affairs of the Commission. The NDDC ordered that the mandatory leave takes immediate effect, and the affected staff have already been notified. A suspected oil thief, Julius Obi, has been remanded in the Port Harcourt Custodial Center pending the perfection of a 10 million naira bail granted him by the Federal High Court in Port Harcourt. Obi was arraigned by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, Port Harcourt's zonal office before Justice Hilary Oshoma of the Federal High Court on one-count charge bordering on illegal dealing in petroleum products without license. Justice Oshoma granted the defendant bail in the sum of 10 million naira with two sureties in like sum, adding that one of the sureties must be a civil servant or a public officer who must file an affidavit of means and their resident status verified. The matter was adjourned till the 8th and 9th of June 2020 for commencement of trial. The defendant, Julius Obi, was arrested in March by officers of 222 Battalion of Operation Delta Safe who were on anti-bunkering patrol around Erawa community in Isoko local government area of Delta State, where he allegedly owns and runs 3 illegal oil refineries. Contrary to claims made by the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Sadiya Farouk, the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, has said it did not conduct any tests on the rice distributed to some southwest states by Nigeria Customs as COVID-19 palliative. Director General of NAFDAC, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, said our agency did not certify the rice for consumption because it was not invited to test it. Professor Adeyeye said NAFDAC tested and certified only rice distributed in Ikeja, Lagos State and Idiroko, Ogun State, but was not asked to test and certify the one in Ibadan, from where other southwest states got their allocations.
The one from Oyo, we were not invited. NAFDAC was not invited to take any sample from Oyo, and we don't. So I cannot say much about the rice consignment from Oyo. Well, the one from Ikeja, the director of lab in Oshodi actually went to do the sampling himself. We not only tested rice, we also tested oil. It is what they invite us to test that we test. We tested the oils, and the oils also were found to be certified. We have one of the best labs in the country, despite the fact that we are still building up our labs.
The Oyo and Ondo State government a few days ago announced that they were returning the bags of rice given to them by the federal government through the customs because it was bad and not fit for human consumption. The Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 has said the move to reopen Nigeria's economy will be done in phases spanning into 6 weeks. Chairman of PTF and Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, during the daily briefing in Abuja, said the 6 weeks plan will be divided into 3 of 2 weeks each to allow for a gradual progression. Mustafa said the essence of easing the restriction is to help the gradual reopening of the economy to provide help for Nigerians.
The Presidential Task Force has developed sector-specific guidelines. The gradual reopening of the economy will span a total of 6 weeks, broken into 3 tranches of 2 weeks each. The first strategy is designed to reduce the bends of socio-economic pressures while strengthening our public health response, which would ultimately reduce the recovery of our economy and provide succor to the poor and vulnerable. To underscore the collaborative effort with sub-national levels of government, they are encouraged to provide leadership in engaging relevant associations responsible for various sectors, e.g. market associations and transport unions.
While speaking on the efforts of the federal government to manage the COVID-19 situation in Kano, Boss Mustafa hinted on the need for researchers to start examining possible solutions to the virus.
Furtherance of tackling the situation in Kano, the technical team of public health experts sent by the Presidential Task Force has begun the evaluation of the situation in the state, working in collaboration with the state's team. I'm pleased to inform you that the operationalization of the laboratories in the Aminu Kano Teaching Hospital and Bayero University Kano will considerably improve our response to the pandemic in Kano State. I need to, at this point, mention the role of research in this exercise. We must encourage our local scientists and deepen our capacity for research. There is a huge role for all relevant research institutes to play at this time. The Federal Ministry of Health is coordinating the process in conjunction with the National Institute for Medical Research, the Institute for Pharmaceutical Research and Development.
On the foreign scene now, Prime Minister of Guinea-Bissau, Nuno Nabiam, has tested positive for the novel coronavirus alongside 3 members of his cabinet. The Health Ministry said the Prime Minister, Nabiam, Interior Minister Boche Kande, and 2 other ministers were diagnosed and have been quarantined at a hotel in the capital, Bissau. Guinea-Bissau's Minister of Health, Antonio Duana, did not provide details of the official's condition or treatment, but warned the country's rate of infection could rise. The West African nation has so far confirmed more than 70 cases and 1 death. Elsewhere, at least a dozen Lebanese banks across the country were touched and vandalized during the second consecutive night of angry protests fueled by frustration over the depreciation of their national currency. Hundreds of demonstrators took to the streets from Beirut to southern Sidon, along with Nabatea, the Bekaa Valley, and Tripoli and Akka in the north. In southern Sudan, a branch of the central bank was pelted with at least half a dozen petrol bombs, with cheers going up from the crowd of demonstrators each time a Molotov hit its mark. Protesters are furious over the rapid slide of the Lebanese pound, which has plummeted in value by more than 50% in about 6 months. Poverty, already at about 50% earlier this year, worsened during the nationwide COVID-19 lockdown that has been in place since mid-March. And in sports, Juventus forward Paulo Dybala has tested positive for the COVID-19 for the fourth time in 6 weeks, according to reports. The Argentine forward confirmed on March 21 that he and his girlfriend Oriana Sabatini had contracted COVID-19 after his first test. According to the Spanish program El Chiringuito, Dybala has had 4 tests since initially contracting the disease, and his most recent test has come back positive yet again. The 26-year-old spoke out on his experience fighting the disease and how he was struggling to breathe. Italian Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte had announced that players would be able to undertake training individually from May 4 before they would be allowed to train in groups 2 weeks. And now to end the news, here's a summary of the major stories.